Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the Alphabets Football Talk Show. Let me introduce your man, your boy, Marcus, the Alpha Bets. What's going on, Marcus?
What's going on, bro? How you doing? It's that time once again. It's that time. How you doing? Hey, you guys, it's good. I'm glad everybody's up in here. Make sure you guys like and share the show. You guys are watching the Alphabets Football Talk Show here on with the Rise Up family and the OnPoint Network. We're glad to have everybody up in here. Make sure we share this. Want to get everybody out there. Take your mind off of everything that's going on right now. Talk a little football. And at this time, first things first, I'd like to introduce the First Lady, my co-host, Miss Ramona Die Hard Die. Get up in here. Glad to have you up in here. My favorite Steelers fans up in the house. How you doing, Miss Die?
Doing pretty good. How are you, Marcus?
I'm great. Ready to get this party started. The next person I'd like to introduce is Andre the Torch Robinson, CEO of Rise Up. Happy to have him with us tonight. The flamethrower, dropping that heat. How you doing, Dre?
Y'all know what it is. Rise Up family, second to none. The fire starters here. What's good, First Lady? What's up, Alpha? Let's get it.
What's going on, bro? Glad you're here, man. And the last person, I got my man up in here, Buffalo on-air personality, Joe Monster McDowell. Glad to have you up in here, bro. How you doing? I can't hear him. You got your mic on, bro?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there you go. I couldn't hear you there first. Glad to have everybody up in here. I wanted to start off tonight talking about a little bit of, before we get into the topics, we got 5 topics tonight, but I really wanted to know, there was a couple of things. I always like to start off with the news, some of the things that are going on in the NFL right now. A couple of free agents out there. I'm really kind of, I don't know, I'm getting a little bit worried about them. Before we get to the 5 topic, Jadeveon Clowney, he was offered a contract by the Browns recently, and he turned it down. Why hasn't anybody signed Jadeveon Clowney? I'm just curious. Like, what's the matter? What's the matter with this guy? Number 1 overall pick, and he can't get a job nowhere. What's up with that? What do you think? What do you think, Die Hard?
I think he needs to be a Steeler. I'll take. There's a bunch of people out there right now I would take. So.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, that's fine. Monster, what do you think? Why doesn't Clowney have a job?
I don't know, man. It's just all the talent's there. Like, it's just maybe it's attitude. Maybe it's stuff in the locker room we can't see. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it's just there's got to be something that we don't know because the talent is absolutely there.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think, Dre?
Real quick, I can sum that all up. Besides his attitude and his work ethic being terrible, I can sum it up for you in one simple sound.
Okay. All right. I mean, look, his original asking price was $20 billion. I think everybody pretty much laughed at that. I'm thinking he's kind of just priced himself out. And like my mom used to say, beggars can't be choosy. Look, you know, maybe he's waiting for an injury. I think he's a hell of a player, but I think he has this inflated sense of self where he thinks he's Aaron Donald or JJ Watt, his former teammate JJ Watt, you know, and I just think he's going to have to come down on his demand. So we'll see what happens with that. I think it may take an injury in training camp for somebody maybe to pick him up, but I don't know. This guy, he's kind of seems to me like he's pricing himself out. So we'll see what happens with that. So that was about it. Can you guys think of any news? Anything else that I might have missed news wise? Anything you guys seen?
I could tell you Cam Newton ain't signed yet.
Yeah, we forgot. That's another one. I thought maybe the Pats would have picked him up. I don't. Maybe the injury concerns. I mean, with all the look, when Blake Bortles has a backup job and Jameis Winston gets picked up and Andy Dalton gets picked up and we got a guy who's a former league MVP who can't get a job. What's his issue? Why can't this guy get a job?
Sorry about that, fellas.
Some people don't. First and foremost, he's been injury prone ever since the Super Bowl. I mean, the guy has kind of went downhill as far as what he's done at the quarterback position. If you look at it, completion rating, his touchdown interception ratio hasn't been the greatest. I mean, if you're gonna call yourself the Superman, you got to perform like a superhero. And I haven't seen superhero status from the guy. All I've heard and seen from this guy is that Price is Right fail on him for the most part.
What do you think, Mona?
I pretty much agree with what Andre had to say. I think some of his antics are another downfall of his.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's a very charismatic character. He's got the crazy hair going on, and look, I don't care about your stuff. I'm not particularly a fan of his fashion style. I'm not really a fan of that. But look, if you can play, you can play. And I think that the like you were saying, some of the antics, the pouting after losses, and I think that one play in the Super Bowl, I think, sometimes you get defined, we call Mark Sanchez until the end of time, Mark Sanchez will be known as butt fumble. That's just what it is. And I think that play in the Super Bowl where Cam didn't dive for that ball, I think a lot of people have kind of made a determination about him, unfortunately, and I think that's keeping him from getting a job out there. So we'll see what happens with him as far as what happens with him. I think he's another candidate that may not get a job until there's a, knock on wood, I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but I'm thinking that it's going to take an injury somewhere in training camp, if there is a training camp, or some type of devastating season-ending injury for a starter for him to get an opportunity. So those two there. So we'll see what happens. But I wanted to jump into the topics that we had for tonight. We were going to cover 5 topics. And the first one, I want to know who will be the MVP, Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes?
There you go. Messing that list up.
There you go, starting trouble, Ramona. There you go, monster. You hear him? You want to start trouble early in the show.
Now I'm having to flip through and find that subject.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So I'll expound on it. You got a guy who came into the league, was told that he should have been a running back. Can't throw the football, this, that, and the third. First year, jitters, playoff. Had a playoff visit where it wasn't the greatest, but John Harbaugh, being the good coach that he is, believed in him anyway, kept him in the game. Good. That ended up going into the next season where he ended up just tearing up the league. I mean, he threw for 36 touchdowns as somebody who couldn't throw the football, supposedly, with no real – well, every team has a number one to me, but with no real definitive number one. Hollywood Brown was the guy that was, the speedster, but Hollywood Brown was injured for a couple of games. He had a couple of tight ends, Mark Andrew and Hurst, who was really, really good, that helped him out a lot last season, along with the running game and, the offensive coordinating of Greg Roman. So the guy ends up throwing up 36 touchdowns, MVP-esque season. Obviously, he won the MVP, so it was MVP. It was MVP season. But Patrick Mahomes last season also, if he wouldn't have been injured for four games last year, also could have had been in that running for MVP. I mean, he was the MVP the year before. I mean, the guy won a Super Bowl this year, comes back from injury, takes the Chiefs to the Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl. This year, he's got more of a running game. They ended up getting Hilaire from LSU, which is going to help a lot with the running game. Which, to me, to be honest with you, if your running game is on point, it's better. It's better for you on play action. It's better. It's better for you to be able to spread that field out and be able to hit targets, and that's something that Patrick Mahomes does very, 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 very well. So, to be very honest with you, it'll be close, but I think Patrick Mahomes should be able to take another MVP trophy home with him. So I'm going with Pat Mahomes.
Okay. Ramona, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate then, because I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson, because I think that they're going to go with MVP stats alone, and he is going to continue to have to do what he does on an everyday basis until he gets hurt, because I still think that his type of quarterback, I think that they don't last long in the NFL. So I honestly think that based on how far he took them this year, I think that he is going to take them there again. I think they win that division. I know that's in my division, and that you just don't know how hard that is for me to say. But I think they win this division. I think that he does exactly what he did last year. And I do think defenses will be more keyed in on him. And, there were a couple teams he didn't get to scramble and put a lot of rushing yards as a quarterback against. And, one of those teams was my Steelers. But then you look at all the other teams that he has to play against and where their defense is ranked. I don't think that there's going to be enough to stop him from
just disappeared. Nobody's here.
Again.
I don't know what's going on.
So I'm gonna go with Lamar Jackson.
Okay, sounds good. Monster, you there?
I don't hear anybody.
Okay, so it's a really hard decision, but I have to say I think Patrick Mahomes is the better overall player right now, but the running ability of Lamar Jackson makes him so dynamic. And I actually think that the Ravens have gotten better. And what I mean by that, if you look at their draft and you look at the players that they picked up in the draft, I think J.K. Dobbins to go along with Mark Ingram, I think their running game, and then you have to you look just at their running backs, but you have to also look at Lamar Jackson broke the single season rushing record for a quarterback.
I don't even know what the hell's going on.
As a quarterback, he broke the single season rushing record. So you have to take that into account when they run option plays. When they run option plays, you have got to take Lamar Jackson into consideration because he might be the fastest guy on the field. And you look at the speed that they've added. They already hit Hollywood Brown. We look at George Kittle and we look at Kelsey from the Chiefs as two of the best tight ends in the league. But you know who the number one tight end in fantasy football was last year? Mark Edwards, the Mark Andrews, excuse me, the tight end from the Ravens. So they have a lot of weapons, and then they added another speedster and a guy who I wanted, Devin Duvernay from the University of Texas, that to go with Hollywood Brown. I mean, they have weapons all over the field. I do like what the Chiefs did. I like picking up Hilaire for obvious reasons, running back out of LSU. But I still got to go with Patrick Mahomes. But it's going to be a very close race between those two. I think these guys will be linked together. If you look at certain drafts, certain players are always certain players they're bound together. Andrew Luck, RG3, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, all of the quarterbacks from the 2018 draft with Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen and Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold. Those guys will always be linked together. So I think these two guys for the next, 10, 15 years will be linked to each other. So that's my thoughts on that. Ramona, do you want to read some of the comments in the inbox for me?
Are we on
Please.
to answer that question?
Mark, are you there? I think Monster's having some technical difficulties over there. We'll get him back in here as soon as we can. Read some of those comments for me, please, if you can.
Okay. Well, I see him in the back in the chat now. So.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
see and hear you guys now.
Okay, can you hear us now, Monster?
I can see and hear you guys now. Yeah. Before you just all.
Okay, go ahead. Monster, what do you think about as far as MVP between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes? What are your thoughts on that? Who would you favor in that, or do you have a dark horse candidate, somebody that can sneak up in there and take it away from the guy, those two guys? Who you got?
All right, between those two, if Lamar's going to get another one, it's got to be this year, because they're going to eventually figure out the runs. It happens in the NFL. We've seen it with other running quarterbacks. The defenses are going to figure it out, and they're going to make him pass more. He passed efficiently. He was good at it. But can he do it without the legs? His legs aren't going to open up the passing lanes that he has now. But between him and Mahomes, Mahomes has too much talent. Just too much talent. He's got he's got Andy Reid, which I believe is an X factor, and he's got too many weapons around him. But if I think this year it's going to be a dark horse. I don't think it's going to be either of them. I think somebody else is going to come up and take it. Maybe Josh Allen. I don't know.
Hey, maybe Big Ben. Maybe he comes back better than ever. Who knows?
Big Ben's on scaffolding. He can barely stand up. Big Ben shouldn't have been playing 2 years ago. He's going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
2 years ago, he led the league in passing yards. And where do you get that from? He got injured in the first game of the season. Well, actually, he got injured in.
I seen him in training camp. He's got 17 ice bags on him. He's in rough shape. Big Ben's felt his whole career. No disrespect to Big Ben. He's one of the greatest. You know what I mean? All due respect, but age is catching up with Big Ben.
Well, like I said, 2018, he led the league in passes and yards as well. So, last year, yeah, he had an elbow injury that resulted in a surgery, but we'll see. Who knows? Maybe he comes back better than ever.
I'm really interested. Look, for as far as we've known in the AFC North, it's been the Ravens and the Steelers. But I know we said this last year, but I think the Browns are going to have something to say about that division as well this year. I still think that the Ravens and the Steelers are the favorite in that division, but I think the Browns with the coaching change that they made. Look, they got all the talent in the world, but I just didn't think Freddie Kitchens was the man for that job. So maybe a guy like Baker Mayfield stands up this year and makes some noise. So we'll definitely see what that's going to be interesting. We got a lot of young talent. Like I was mentioning earlier, that class of 2018. Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson. 5 first-round pick quarterbacks in the first round.
I'm going to read comments so we can get on to the next topic.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, first off, Ethan's saying Monster needs to turn up his mic. They can barely hear him.
I'll just talk louder.
We know you can talk loud. We know you can talk loud, so there's no problem with that. Go ahead, Ramona.
Yuri says Blake Bortles doesn't have a job yet. Tom Casey says Cam Newton is going to Pittsburgh, and I've done the little laugh and smiling on that one. Kellen says, please like and share the show, please, and thank you. And I appreciate that, Kellen. Thank you. Yuri says Lamar Jackson gets MVP this year. Raleigh says not being a blank, but I think Lamar is going to have a harder time this coming season.
Okay.
Tom Casey says he's going with Mahomes. Here he has the offense and doesn't depend on the run heavily. Ronald says there's too much tape on Lamar Jackson. There's tape, but then you still got to be able to catch the guy. That's just my opinion.
That's truth. Nothing says that more than Deshaun Watson escaping the Bills when they had two guys right in his face to win that game. So
well, and he didn't run that well. He didn't run that well against the Steelers defense either. Ronald says he's going to have to change it up in some way that people don't see him coming. Tom Casey says Baltimore, Cleveland coming out of the north. I done the laughing smiley on that one too. Just saying.
You guys have that much faith in Cleveland? Like, what have you seen in Cleveland that gives you that much faith from last year? Like, you think the Eagles of Baker and Odell are going to mesh? Like, you think it's just going to get better?
It's not. It's for me. For me, the X factor is not. For me, the X factor is the coaching. I think Freddie Kitchens is a terrible coach. I didn't think when I heard that he was going to be the coach, I thought that was a bad hire. So,
Agree.
And also you have to take into consideration Nick Chubb, who I think is one of the best running backs in the league, and then to have a guy who was a former rushing champion as your backup running back in Kareem Hunt. So I think he'll make some noise.
Well, but
Go
how
ahead.
long does it take for Kareem Hunt to get in trouble again? And I agree with you on Nick Chubb, but I think the X factor is Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
I think we have
Fair
to
enough.
see what this guy can do because now they improved their offensive line. So he's going to have better protection. He's got, two great running backs. Excuse me. So, oh yeah, that's hard. That's hard for me to say. Sorry, that's real hard for me to say. Can't really swallow that one very well. But yeah, I just we'll see. They look good on paper again. Yes, I have a drink. But they look good on paper last year too. So, all right. Yuri says we're ending hype on Patrick Mahomes and giving the MVP to Lamar Jackson, sharing his caring. The Ravens sharpened their defense, and I agree. Tom Casey said that. Yuri says MVP, in his opinion, will be Kyler Murray if it isn't those two. And I think I kind of agree with that. It could very well be Kyler Murray.
You guys are out of your mind.
Big Noodle Arm Rothlisberger. Damn, Tom Casey, you must be watching a different Roethlisberger than I watch year after year after year. And in 2018, he didn't have no noodle arm. He led the league. So just whatever. Monster awakened the beast, Ronald Enoch said. Tom Casey said Cam Newton is Pittsburgh's future. Nah, I doubt that very seriously.
And the last couple with Kitchens didn't work out at all. He was a mess in the locker room, and Ronald says Baker got to stay out from behind coffee shops with the ladies. But okay, so moving on. Our second topic. I was looking at an episode of there's a famous episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air whenever Will Smith's dad came into town. It was a truck driver, and he kind of left him struck, and Will Smith, he kind of started crying. He said, "Why doesn't he want me? Why doesn't this man want me?" I don't know if y'all remember that episode. And every time I saw that episode, and the first guy that came to my mind was Josh Rosen, Dre. That came to my Josh Rosen. Why this guy, former first round pick out of UCLA, a lot of people liken him to. I heard. Look, I'm not saying he was. I heard Aaron Rodgers comparisons. First round pick for the Cardinals a couple of years ago came out the same 2018 draft that I just mentioned with the five first round quarterbacks, and he keeps this guy. He gets traded from the Cardinals to the Dolphins, and the Cardinals drafted Kyler Murray. He gets sent to the to the Dolphins, and then the Dolphins they draft Tua. What? Why can't? What is the? Am I missing something? What is the issue with Josh Rosen, Dre? Can you please explain this to me? What's the deal? Will this guy ever get a fair shot?
Well, I'm gonna be very honest with you. Josh Rosen is somewhat of a hothead. And let's be clear, I could give you some premise on this guy. I mean, in October 2015, the guy had a hot tub in his dorm room at UCLA. Secondly, then he goes on a Trump golf course and wears a F Trump hat and posts the picture on Instagram. May 2016, after UCLA signs a record-breaking apparel deal under Under Armour, Josh Rosen just went and ripped the NCAA amateurism rules. Yeah. Then also, while on an interview, decided to make another point about those rules, and people thought that he was talking about Alabama, calling them dumb, this, that, and the third. Then Rosen skipped the ball game in December 2017. You had Rosen in 2018 coming out on an interview saying he's going to win more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. He wants to be great. He looked out on Kellen Moore. I'm sorry, he looked up to Kellen Moore. But he wants to win more championships. Then Josh Rosen, draft night, goes and says, there were 9 mistakes ahead of me being drafted 10th overall. And then throughout, you know what Josh Rosen has done. He's struggled throughout his prominent NFL career so far. Do I think Josh Rosen has the tools? He probably does, but I would tell you this. If he focused more on the craft and less on outside stuff, I think Josh Rosen could be actually a good quarterback. Focusing on his craft, though, will be super important, and maturity will be super, super important. All right? Okay. And I'm going to leave it there.
Okay. Monster, what do you think?
All right. Well, Andre just basically said every single thing I was going to say. Thanks for that long-winded answer that covered everything.
I'm sorry.
Man, just shut up. No. I'm going to say it like this. I look at Josh Rosen like a Southern Cal spoiled little bitch. And what I mean by that is, all right, listen. You ever been on a first date and she shows up or he shows up and you're not shaving and your breath stinks and you're like, you know what? I've seen enough. I'm not interested. I think that's what happened with Rosen. I think he showed up in Arizona. They've seen enough, and they're intelligent enough to make the decision that this isn't going to work. Same thing. He gets to Miami, shows what he's got to show, and they say the same thing. Like, yeah, this isn't going to work. Has he gotten a fair share of playing time as far as regular NFL experience? No. But you got to leave that up to the intelligence of the coaching staff to not put him in that position because they don't think he's simply good enough for it. So I think that he's kind of one of those 5-minute dates where you realize this isn't going to go well. You're not what we're looking for. I mean, there's no other answer for it. You're a first-round pick, and you fizzle out in 2 teams, and you can't even get on the field, especially with those 2 teams. You can't get on the field with those 2 teams? Good luck with the rest of the league, buddy.
Well, look, Monster, you're having me defend Josh Rosen, okay? I feel the need to.
Don't have to.
I'm just saying, look at the guys who replaced him. Look at the guys who are, I mean, it's not like, look, Kyler Murray's better than Josh Rosen. Tua is better than Josh Rosen. And if he gets traded to another team, I'm thinking a team, let's say he gets traded to let's say he gets traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
And they draft the boy Trevor Lawrence out of they draft Trevor Lawrence. He's going to get he's not as good as Trevor Lawrence. He's not as good as Trevor Lawrence either. So sometimes it's just he just seems to be in a bad situation. He seems to be in a very bad he just has some bad luck. Now I do think he's
you can't at least get it out. Listen to you can't even get that out. It's choking you up.
I would like to voice my opinion on.
You know it's not true.
ROSEN or
About
how you want to
comparisons
pronounce
to
his
Aaron
name.
Rodgers, and you can't make the starting quarterback of Miami?
Terrible. Don't
Okay.
go
Right.
there.
So
Go ahead, Mom.
my idea is that he basically gets
I
in his
can't hear
own way.
Ramona.
I think that he has a lot of problems, a lot of issues that we don't get to see, that we're not maybe in tune to. But I also noticed last year that I started seeing him watch more and more Fitzpatrick, like he was learning more from Fitzpatrick, which is not a bad guy to learn from. You know, granted, the guy's been all over the place for how many different teams he's played for, but I've seen worse quarterbacks for him to learn from. And I think that's what he's doing. I don't know. Maybe he ends up being a Fitzpatrick style quarterback that he just goes from team to team, helping them out when they have injuries. Who knows? There's good money in that too. It's
Oh yeah, no doubt.
all watching the games, right? So we'll see what
No
happens.
doubt. No doubt. No doubt. Ramona, I'm with you. I think that there is a place for him somewhere. I would have thought maybe the Patriots come a calling, or at least it seems like the Patriots are very satisfied with Jarrett Stidham right now. But I think he's at least good enough to be okay. Maybe he's not one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the league, but I think he's at least a top 64. He's at least good enough to be a backup. So hopefully, it doesn't look good for him even in Miami. I think the Dolphins roll out Fitzpatrick to begin the season. I think by about maybe week 7 or depending on their record. Uh, we might see Tua this year. If I'm the Dolphins, I read reports that there were teams that were interested in Rosen. I'd like to see him get a shot and at least maybe sit behind somebody and learn. I thought that would be in Miami, but they drafted Tua, so his days are numbered there. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully, he catches on somewhere and is able to move on with his career.
You want me to read
So
some of the
next,
comments?
look,
Ron Eating
yes,
says
ma'am, go
Baker,
for it.
talking about Cleveland Browns. Baker got to stay out from behind the coffee shop with the ladies. I had to read that one because I just found that one so funny. Yuri says he needs to be utilized in a good system. Dolphins and Cardinals are not them. Cut him and let him decide where he wants to go. They're not going to cut him, but I figured they could very well easily trade him. David Clark is in the house, and he says, I see we don't even say anything about my team, the Cleveland Browns. We actually did last week, or week 4 last week, the AFC North. So you should have been here for that conversation. But we were talking about Cleveland Browns before you came into the room. He said, until then, he says, I say we don't say anything about my team, the Cleveland Browns, until after they prove themselves. Until then, we'll finish 5-11 at worst, 7-9 at best, and hopefully, I don't hear them mentioned for the time being. Stay focused on the top AFC and NFC teams. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad he told the truth about his own team.
He sounds like you sound like a very disgruntled Browns fan. You need to meet one of our other Browns followers. Shout out to my boy Walter Warraw Ringfield.
All right,
Go ahead, Ramona. Read the rest of those comments.
Welcome to the group.
Yeah.
Detroit Lions winning the NFC North. Detroit Lions got the best running back in the draft, DeAndre Swift. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Swift.
Okay. Now, so we go from a person who doesn't have high expectations for their team to a person who thinks a team that's one of the only teams in the 100-year history of the NFL to go 0-16 is going to be the best team in the AFC in the NFC North. I think that's kind of disrespectful to the Packers and the Vikings. But hey, this is why we play the game.
Okay, Ron said I think he says the same thing. Josh Rosen gets in his own way. Larissa says she thinks the Lions are the best team in the North. Ethan says, I love you, monster.
Okay.
Donovan Single says, as a UCLA fan, Josh Rosen just doesn't care enough about football. He comes from a well-off family and is more into politics than football.
Rich bitch. That's what I said. And I'm glad Buffalo didn't draft him because I couldn't spend 12 years looking at his nose. It would just irritate me. We could win 4 Super Bowls, and at the end of it, I'd be like, yeah, but the nose. Like, I just can't get over it. So that's my take on Rosen. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're fine. Larissa says Matthew Stafford is better than Josh Rosen, which I kind of agree with that.
That's Stafford better than a lot of people.
That's not saying much.
Don, I'm gonna kick you. Don Smith says Rosen should go to the Steelers and learn from Big Ben.
Keep him out of the bathroom.
Josh, shut up. Josh Rosen should go to the Panthers, is what Yuri says. Let's see here.
Can I read one that says, I have faith in my Detroit Lions winning the NFC North?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I have a hey Dre, for that person who said that the Lions will win the NFC North, I have an answer for you. Ready?
Get Corona.
I just had to get that out there. But hey, look, it's good to have faith. It's good to have faith. So faith is a good thing.
Let's be honest. Okay, I'll say this. All right, the Lions, they've been terrible, but you know what?
Can't hear you.
Leaving,
can barely hear you.
Matt Stafford is a good quarterback. Like, I feel sorry for Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is a good quarterback. I don't know if you can hear me. Everybody just disappeared. This is getting aggravating as hell for me. So I'll leave it there. If you guys can hear me, take it over because I can't hear or see anybody anymore.
Can you not hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. We heard him.
You there?
Yeah, I can hear him. He's really low.
Okay.
All
right. Well, I'm gonna jump on to the next subject. Look, we love our superstar players. All of us have favorite teams, but look, you got to have those guys that are the lunch
buns. Don't use the software again. The software's buns.
The lunch pail guys out there. And
I'll teach you OBS. It'll take me 20
I'm
minutes.
wondering,
Just like
who in your opinion, do you think is the most underrated player of all time? And I'll start off with you, Ms. Di. Who do you think is the most underrated player of all time in the 100-year history?
Yeah, just like picking on me tonight, huh? Well, I'm going to shock everybody. I'm going to go back to Frank Ryan. Quarterback out of Cleveland. I don't think he got any of the accolades, even though he led the NFL in passing 2 years straight during his career with Cleveland. He took them to the NFL championship game. Guy played 68 to 73, I think. I think he was probably one of the most underrated. I can remember growing up and hearing my uncles, who were basically all Cleveland Browns fans, and my dad, and them talking about this guy not really having the players on his team when he really needed them, except for a few years that he actually had great talent to help show his talents. So, yeah, I think that I had to go with Frank Ryan.
Okay. Who you got, Dre?
I got a few, actually. Murph Fleming, the tight end wide receiver that played on the Green Bay Packers and the Miami Dolphins back in the day. Aaron Smith, the defensive end. How about Warrick Dunn? Warrick Dunn, running back. How about Stanley Morgan? Stanley Morgan is another one, super underrated guy. So I mean, you can add Dave Craig in there, the quarterback from Seattle back in the day too. You can add him as well if you like. Those guys are underrated guys. And I'm gonna leave it at
and by the way, I wanted to say the little halfback from Pittsburgh, Rocky Blyer. That's who I wanted to talk about. Just so you know, that hey, right there, Rocky Blyer. Rocky Blyer.
That's your most
Right
underrated.
now. When Franco
I'll
Harris
take it.
was inducted into the Hall of Fame, I will always remember part of his speech. And he said, there is no way that he retires with the yards that he amassed in his career with Pittsburgh if he hadn't been following Rocky Blyer through the defensive lines. And it's a fact. He didn't get the credit because he wasn't scoring the touchdowns. I mean, in his career, he scored 23 touchdowns in his career with Pittsburgh. Now, granted, that was just the rushing touchdowns. He had 2, I think, receiving touchdowns in his career. But that's my point. They used him as the workhorse to open up the lanes for Franco Harris. And I really appreciated the fact that Franco Harris actually stepped up and made that comment. So, yeah, Rocky Blyer would be my real number one if you want to know the truth. Okay.
Can we all agree that Franco Harris had great hair?
Okay.
The perm was fantastic. Loved Franco Harris's lettuce. It was just great.
Who do you got, Monster?
Player of all time?
Yeah.
Most underrated player. Who you got?
Let me paint the picture. 16 years, 219 games, 1,031 receptions, 14,731 yards, 6,000 yard seasons. Now, it was tough for me because I originally wanted to pick T.O. Those aren't the stats of T.O. As much as they kiss Randy and Jerry's, you know what I'm saying? T.O. should be up there with them, but that's not who I picked. My most underrated player of all time, and I absolutely love this dude, is Steve Smith Sr.
Steve who?
Steve Smith Sr.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Just the underdog, just fought for everything, just scrapped, never backed down, made the big plays, was open when they needed him. I absolutely love Steve Smith Sr.
Wow. When you talk about the elite wide receivers in the NFL, and you touched on this a little bit, Monster. You look at it, you don't think about Steve Smith, the guy 5'9" coming out of the University of Utah. We think of the Randy Mosses, we think of the T.O.s, we think of the Jerry Rices, but this guy here, he was a dog. He was an absolute warrior out there. He was an absolute tough guy and played with a certain rage. And he had good stats. We'll see. There's a lot of receivers coming up in the Hall of Fame discussion in the next few years. You look at guys like Andre Johnson, Calvin Johnson, Megatron, guys that are coming up in the next couple of years. I don't know how his stats match up with guys like that, but the guy played the game with a certain rage and enthusiasm that I just loved. So yeah, I didn't even think about that, but that's a hell of a response. For me, I'm gonna go Troy Brown, wide receiver from the Patriots. This guy did everything for that team. Special teams, wide receiver. He even played a little bit of defense and helped with those earlier Patriots teams that were, they were more defensive oriented. They didn't have the firepower of some of the teams in the late 2000s. But this guy, he was an absolute. I mean, he just did everything that they asked him to do. Contributor, and wherever they needed him to play, I thought he was a hell of a player. And I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to say Jordy Nelson. A lot of people, you don't see a lot of white wide receivers nowadays. This guy was absolutely incredible. Played for the Packers. Uh, it was at first was probably the third guy when they had he was the third guy. It eventually ended up becoming the number one over there, and I just thought he was incredible. Never really said anything, but just put up hellacious numbers. And I don't know if he's Hall of Fame. I don't know if his numbers are Hall of Fame, but I was always impressed with him. So that's my
There
two
been some
answers right
white
there.
wide receivers. Steve Largent. Steve Largent.
Yeah, I mean,
That's all I got.
look, Steve. Yeah, Steve. Look, when I say, okay, monster. If I say, give me your top three wide receivers all time, are you going to
Hell
put
no, I
Steve
gotta put
Largent
Steve
up in
Largent
there?
up in there.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like he and Steve and look when Steve Largent retired, he was the all-time leading receiver of all time. Jerry Rice broke his record. But when we talk about receivers now, and part of that's because of how the game has evolved. They're throwing the ball all over the damn place now. So his records, like you got receivers now that are going to break
Oh,
Steve Largent's records just because of just because of
yeah, the
how
game
much
is
they throw
different.
the ball now.
One of the
But
most
I just,
one of the most
yeah,
elegant wide
that,
receivers I ever
yeah.
saw, because I'm old as hell, was Lynn Swan. Like that dude was just butter. Just his
Oh,
movements and his fluidity, and he doesn't
oh
get
yeah.
any mention in the best receivers of all time either.
Well, Ramona could probably answer this a little bit more than me. I think it's also sometimes you don't get that recognition, and I don't know if Ramona will agree with me. She can answer for herself, but I think the thing that kind of uh, brings down Swan that where he doesn't get the props that I think he deserves is because he had stalwart on the other side of him. When you got a guy like that, that takes a lot of attention away from you. I think I have them as one of the best 1-2 punches at the wide receiver position ever. Those two guys there, it's like I mean, you basically had two number ones on the field at the same time. What do you think about that, Ramona?
Oh well,
Do
I'm
you
gonna tell you
agree?
right now. I think there's an absolute reason why Chuck Noll came into the league and Pittsburgh won 4 Super Bowls out of his first 6 years. There's a reason behind that. It was
And then he
great
won
talent.
NASCAR championships.
There was great talent on that team. The '74 draft was I guess it would have been more like the '73, '74 drafts. Those drafts were unreal. I mean, look at the Hall of Famers that came out of that draft that year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And like I said, then you have all that talent, and you can't forget about the other players that helped kind of drag a little bit of uh, spotlight away from Lynn Swan
Yeah.
on that offense as well. And that being back then, it was more a running game, run that ball down their throats type mentality of game. You know, talking
Without
about
a doubt. Without a
different
doubt.
eras and that kind of stuff. That's what you see from the '70s. You see more running games than you see passing. Can you imagine a Lynn Swan and a Stalwart on a team together now?
Oh yeah, with the way the rules are, like I said, a lot of these passing records and receiving records, I think in the next we're going to see a lot of these records fall uh, in the coming decades just because of how much the game has changed. But I'm going to read some of these. I'm going to read some of these things. We're getting a little bit behind here.
Oh, it's getting
Let's see here.
comment section, by the way. It's getting real hot. I done got real interactive.
Yeah, go ahead, Dre. Why don't you go ahead and read those comments for me, please?
Man, listen. Where do I need to? Well, first of all, foremost, like and share the show, folks. By the way, this is the Alphabet Sport Football Talk Show, baby. All right. Now, DeAndre Swift winning Rookie of the Year, Jeff Okuda for my Lions. Okay, we got Lions fans back in the house. That's good. I like that. Y'all mad Lions got the best running back in the draft? No, we not mad about that. Packers not winning the division. Y'all mad that I had the worst draft in the North? That doesn't matter when Big 12's on the field. That's never mattered for real in the last 10 years, but okay. Steve Smith, that was a phenomenal pick. Steve Smith, that was phenomenal. Monster with the monster pick. Then I'm hearing Kenny Galladay is better than Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams. Wow.
Right?
Really? Like, you watch the same NFL I watch?
I'm guessing that's coming from the
Dicks.
Lions fan.
Yeah, Larissa, what's good, Larissa, man? Listen, I'm happy that you on the show because you provide me some type of debate in the comment section. I've been in the comment section talking to her for the last couple minutes while on the show. Listen, Kenny Galladay is a good receiver, but he is not better than Stephon Diggs, who is probably one of the best route runners in football. One, two. Secondly, he's not better than Devontae Adams. When Devontae Adams is one of the best wide receivers coming off the line that can run every single route there is. Short, intermediate, long. Kenny Galladay got it yet. Kenny Galladay is nice. He's up and coming, but he ain't better than those two. I don't know what rank you saw and where you saw Kenny Galladay being better than those two, but I'm going to tell you, you might want to check again.
You must have read an article from the same dude that put Trey White as the 18th from PFF as far as cornerbacks go.
That's all I'm going to say.
18th.
You know, I have to admit, I just read a comment. Dalton said, you know, what's embarrassing is when Lions had an 0-16. Dalton, you do realize that just because, like, Nick, what was the game before the last of the season for the Saints, you guys went 1-15 in 1980. Just, you know, just for your information. I got to take it for Larissa a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So moving on to our fourth topic. And I know this is going to get real heat. I need everybody up in here for this one because this is going to get really hot. Look, I really need to know in the inbox, in the comment section, who is going to finish with more yards, more touchdowns. Who's going to be the last man standing? Tom Brady or Drew Brees? Tom Brady or Drew Brees? Look, we got two. I think they are they're the two oldest quarterbacks in the NFL. I believe Tom Brady's 43, and I think that Drew Brees is 41. Okay, they have between them they have every significant passing touchdown record out there. So who do we think, whenever all the dust settles, who do we think is going to be the last man standing? Who's going to be the all-time leading passer between these two? Whenever all the dust settles, when both of their careers are done, who's going to be the last man standing? And Monster, I'll leave it. I will go to you. And what do you think?
My affection for Tom Brady runs deep. I love Tom Brady, but listen, if it wasn't for the rings, I said it before. If it wasn't for the rings, Drew Brees would be the GOAT. Not Peyton Manning, not Tom Brady. The consistency that Drew Brees has shown over his career. Okay, the only man to notch 5,000-yard passing seasons. The dude is just consistency. He has the best accuracy in the NFL. And now, Brady and Gronk are in Tampa. Yeah, you got Mike Evans. You got some weapons. But what are we really going to see? Are we going to see Tom Brady be Tom Brady? Or are we going to see what everybody thinks, that he's a system quarterback? Is it going to be able to work? Is it going to be the same Tom Brady? I'll take money that it's going to be the same Drew Brees for the next few years. Tom Brady down there in Tampa, we don't know how that's going to turn out. But my pick is, I think it's going to be Drew Brees, and rightfully so. In my opinion, minus the rings, if you go stats, consistency, and what he's done over his career, Drew Brees is my GOAT. And yeah, I'm a little biased because I'm a Bills fan, but too damn bad. That's my opinion.
No problem. Miss Di, who you got?
Ben Roethlisberger.
This was real hard for me. But I think that Tom Brady stays in it until Brees retires. I think this is Brees' last year for sure. I think Tom Brady, we may see at least 2 more years with him. And I think he does it just so he can actually have the most touchdowns in passing yards in the history. Just me.
So you think
I think he's so
you're
full of
thinking
his
this?
own.
You think it's
I
Tom
think he's so
Brady?
full of his own ego that he will stay in just long enough to. Yep, I sure do. I think
Okay,
it's Tom Brady.
Dre, who you got?
Well, I hate to play devil's advocate, but I
No, you don't.
I do. I gotta play devil's advocate because we got one for Breeze and one for Brady. Listen, it depends on a couple of things. First and foremost, if this is
Oh
a
no, they both
one-on-one,
took Breeze. Wait a minute, they took. Didn't y'all both take Brady? Who took Brady and who took Breeze?
I took Breeze.
Monster took Breeze.
Monster took Breeze,
And who did you take?
and you took Brady,
Oh, okay,
right?
so you haven't picked yet. Okay.
I haven't picked it.
We
You
haven't
for a
picked
minute.
it.
Sorry.
Stop
Yeah,
trying
I'm
to fix the vote,
I'm gonna give you
Ramona.
on this. It's simple. Monster mentioned a couple things. Monster, here you go again with these monster comments. I totally agree. Breeze probably would be the GOAT if had not it been for rings. Yeah, the guy's got 5,000 yard seasons. I mean, he almost had a 6, to be honest with you. He's very consistent. He's a guy who makes his team better and not his team makes him better type of person. I mean, who's his best wide receiver been his whole entire career? I'll wait. I won't even get into that. But I will say this. Now that Tom Brady is not with Josh McDaniels, who is the offensive coordinator that he's had for a long period of time, he is now blessed with Brian Leftwich as the coordinator in Tampa Bay. And Pete Carmichael has been Drew Brees' offensive coordinator since he's been with the Saints. I think a lot of that matters. I think it's going to take time for Tom Brady to do what he does with Gronk and those two lovely wide receivers he's got in Godwin and Evans. Drew Brees has Michael Thomas, and I think the Saints offense will get even better this year. I'm going to say if it was a one-on-one, it's Drew Brees. I got to go with Drew Brees. Drew Brees is the
smart cat.
So you're going with Drew Brees too. Okay. Okay. Well, guys, look. They're neck and neck. And look, let me ask you all this: who do we think has the better receiving core this season? Who has the better receiving core? Who has the better cast of characters?
After you go Michael Thomas and Mike Evans, I say push.
Well, you got to look at. Look, in my opinion, I think Tampa Bay may have the best receiving options altogether in the league. When you look at Mike Evans, who all that Tom Brady has to do with Mike Evans is throw it in the general vicinity. Okay. And then you look at Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin would be a number one on most teams. All right. And then you look at tight ends. I think you see the emergence of O.J. Howard this season. I don't know what Gronk is going to be, but even 60% of Gronk is better than most tight ends in the league. I don't think at this stage in his career he's better than Kittle or Ertz or Kelsey. But after those 3 elite tight ends, I think very well that Gronk could be a major factor. So when you look at all of that, now the only question mark that I have as far as Tampa Bay this season would be the running back. I don't like Ronald Jones. I think he's garbage dumpster juice. That's my opinion. I don't think Ronald Jones. If I were Tampa Bay, I would be on the phones trying to get me a running back in the draft, a Swift or a Jonathan Taylor or
Oh my God, I saw like a demon came through.
There's been ducks quacking
What's that?
and all kinds of stuff going on. Just trying to figure out where it's coming from.
That's the bond.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, I mean, we'll see though. The one unknown though is what is Tom Brady gonna be? What is he gonna be without? That's the $1 million question for this season. How is Belichick gonna fare without Tom Brady? How is Tom Brady going to fare without? This is the first time in 20 seasons that we've seen them without each other. Okay, so we're going to see what Tom Brady does. I'm going to give it to Tom Brady. Look, to me, this debate basically boils down to who retires first and who retires last. Tom Brady has 74,571 yards, 541 touchdowns in his career. Breeze has 77,416 yards and 547 touchdowns. So Brady has six fewer touchdowns. He has six fewer touchdowns in his career than Drew Brees does. I mean, that's a season. That might be a game. We've seen Tom Brady throw 5 touchdowns in one game. So I mean, that's a good game worth of touchdowns behind Drew Brees. So we'll see. Drew Brees didn't look very good to me last year.
Well,
he did not look very good.
He had some key injuries on that offense. I mean, Kamara was hurt off and on.
Okay, and Tom Brady was throwing to Uber drivers. He was throwing to Uber. He was throwing to Uber drivers and pizza delivery guys.
Let me ask you this, okay?
Tom Brady wasn't throwing. Tom Brady wasn't. Look, Tom Brady has had Randy Moss. He had Gronk before. He had an old Edelman. He had Harry, the Kill Harry, who was hurt, and nobody at tight end, and a bunch of no names at tight end. This year he's got Mike Evans, who in my opinion is at least a top at the worst a top 10 wide receiver. Chris Godwin is at the worst a top 12 receiver. Gronk, we know what he was. We don't know what he's going to be, but I mean he's got some weapons over there to throw to. So can they protect him? That's really what it boils down to. And can they find at least a serviceable running back? That's my opinion.
Okay, let me rebuttal with this. How many times last year did you see Tom Brady miss a throw that he usually makes? They broke it down on ESPN. They broke it down on the L22s. Now flip that. How many times did you see Drew Brees miss a throw that he's supposed to make? A lot less. It's not only the system they're in and the weapons he has. You got to factor in the decline that we've seen last year of Tom Brady. He's not the same Tom Brady that threw to Randy Moss. He's not the same Tom Brady that won those Super Bowls. He's taken a step backwards. So
but now, wait a minute, Monster, before you can go there, he doesn't have a receiver on that team like a Randy Moss or even a Terrell Owens.
Mike Evans is still top 5. You can't complain.
He ain't no Randy Moss.
Nobody's Randy Moss. It's Randy Moss.
Ain't nobody Terrell Owens either.
Okay, let me ask you, who's a better receiver, Mike Evans or Mike Thomas? Why do you think he wanted
Antonio Brown on that team so bad?
Michael Thomas.
Look, man, I think in my opinion, I think Mike Evans is better than Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas, look, and it's just like, I don't know if y'all had seen Mike Thomas. He was arguing with somebody on Twitter the other day. They were like, he was arguing with Devontae Parker from the Dolphins. And he's like, yeah, I'd have great stats too if I got 150, 160 targets a season, and I played with a future Hall of Fame quarterback my entire career. I'm playing with Ryan Fitzpatrick and all of these guys over here that have been quarterbacks for the Dolphins. Mike Evans balled out last year with Jameis Winston. Chris Godwin balled out last year with Jameis Winston. Do we think Jameis Winston is better than Tom Brady?
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to recognize people and give them respect. Number one, we got Die Hard in the house. We got the monster in the house. We got the alpha in the house, and now the fire starter is about to light some fire. First and foremost, Mike, what you just said just made my point even more. First of all, you got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who are 1,000-yard receivers, right? I don't care who was throwing. They both was 1,000-yard receivers, right? Can you tell me Michael Thomas other receivers?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. When you get listen, he didn't have anybody. I think maybe it was Ted. Was it Ted?
Michael Thomas is catching balls, 160 balls in this first ball. Catching those receptions when teams know he is the only real target on the Saints. That's number one. Number two, secondly, let me bring this into fruition as well. There's one other thing that you might want to take into consideration when it comes down to these two guys that we're talking about. It's going to depend on how many times the Tampa Bay offense can actually get on the field. Because last I checked, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense was trash. I mean, somebody should hit the toilet flush on that 32nd ranked defense, 32nd ranked run defense. And thank you. And they were ranked 17th last year. And if you look at the Saints, they were ranked 5th. I'm looking at it. 5th. So the Saints will have.
Okay, but those defensive stats are skewed. When your quarterback throws 30 interceptions, he just gives it back to the other team. When the defense is out there and your quarterback comes out and throws 3 or 4 30 interceptions. Look, there's 16 games in a season. That's averaging 2 interceptions a game.
Make a stop.
2 interceptions a game.
Pass defense. I'm sorry, not rush defense. Pass defense. The Bucs had the number one rush defense last year because nobody really rushed against them.
Nobody had to be, because I mean they just look. I mean, sometimes numbers are skewed. Sometimes numbers are skewed because of the flow of the game. The bottom line is they had a quarterback who was a turnover machine, and he gave the opposing team. He kept giving them the ball, which left the defense out there to just strand it. So that, I mean, don't be deceived. Just they say men lie, women lie, but numbers don't lie. Sometimes, actually, numbers do lie sometimes because the numbers are skewed.
I'm not deceived by the numbers, though. I'm deceived that the defense get better. Yeah. That's where I'm going. If the defense did not get better for the Buccaneers, I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be a whole lot of fun seeing Tom Brady come out there 7-8 times a game because they can't stop no one.
I'm just saying, make a stop. Regardless of interceptions, you're an NFL defense. Make a stop.
And let's talk about that. Let's talk about those.
It's hard to make a stop. It's hard to make a stop It's hard to make a stop when you're on the field all the time. It's really, unless you have like an elite defense like the Buffalo Bills, and you have a quarterback who's turning over the ball, who's hemorrhaging the football. Okay, we've seen that. We seen that a couple of years ago. How good that 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars defense was, and Blake Bortles is turning the ball over at will, keeping that defense out there. And I don't care if you're the 85 Bears, I don't care if you're the 2000 Ravens, I don't care if you're the Steel Curtain defenses from the 70s. If your quarterback is turning over the ball every other possession, eventually your defense is going to break. That's just what it is.
Now watch, we just got him, though. We just got him. I'm sorry, I gotta say this, Marcus. You just messed up. Right? I'm gonna tell you exactly why you just messed up. So, are you saying if Jameis Winston came out the football 30 times, a lot of those games that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was out of it, right? Are you saying that Mike Evans' numbers are inflated because of BS time? What do we call that? BS time?
Garbage time.
Garbage time.
Are you saying that Mike Evans' numbers are inflated because of garbage time, Marcus? Because you just tried to tell me
did Mike Evans have 1,000-yard season? Has he had how many 1,000-yard seasons has Mike Evans had? We act like he's just never had 1,000 yards receiving. Mike Evans is a hell of a receiver. I think
his numbers inflated because they play in a lot of garbage time. Answer the question. Because I would tell you that Michael Thomas has had more 1,000-yard seasons than him. But I mean, do we need to look at the numbers, sir? Do we need to look at the numbers?
Okay, we can do that. We will definitely continue this. We're running a little bit low on time. Did everybody get their opinion as far as
5 years? Evans has 462 receptions, 7,260 yards, averaging 15 yards a catch. Longest is 72 and 48 tutties.
Your volume is getting lower and lower and lower.
Okay. And how many 1,000-yard seasons does he have in
all of them?
How many?
All of them. You heard them.
All of his. Wait. Every single season that Mike Evans has been a professional receiver in the NFL, he's a 1,000-yard receiver. Did you just say
And I
that?
never said anything bad about Mike Evans. What I will say is this.
Okay. Well, I'm saying it to the fire starter over there. I should call him the trouble starter. The trouble starter. You ain't the fire starter. You're the trouble starter.
Michael Thomas is this. If you need a possession reception, Michael Thomas is the guy. If you need a game breaker to take it 70 yards to the house, that's Mike Evans. Michael Thomas is possession. Mike Evans is deep threat.
Okay, sounds good. So, guys, we're running a little bit low. We're going to jump down to the last subject. Who are the top 5 coaches coaching in the NFL?
McDermott.
You better stop it. You better stop it, Monster. You better stop it. Who's your top 5? Who's your top 5 current coaches in the NFL right now?
All right.
Yes.
I'm gonna start with number 5. Number 5, I gotta be a homer. The way he's turned it around, I gotta go with Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott at number 5. The way he's turned it around, the way he's instilled the culture, the way he's turned the franchise around. You don't have to agree with me. I hear the huffing and puffing. I don't want to hear that stuff. All right. Number 4, longevity. It matters to me. Sean Payton. Sean Payton.
Okay.
Now, see, you're booing me and I can't cuss. That's not fair. All right. Number 3, we'll go with Andy Reid. You can't ignore Andy Reid. Andy Reid just he's the pillar and he just wins. The guy just wins. I'm glad he got his ring. He absolutely deserves it. Number 2, this might shock you. I got to go with Mike Tomlin. After what he went through last year and the way he turned that team around, that's coaching. Regardless of how he finished that season, he did a phenomenal job coaching that team. And he's been phenomenal in Pittsburgh for years and years and years. So the number 2, that's Mike Tomlin to me. And the number 1 to me, because he was able to take his team and completely revamp the offense to make it what it was for his number 1 weapon to actually succeed, is Mike Harbaugh. Or Jim Harbaugh. The Harbaugh.
John.
Whatever.
John Harbaugh.
Yeah,
John
Harbaugh. That's my number 1 coach. To be able to take your offensive scheme and tailor it that specifically to your number 1 talent and be able to get the most out of Lamar that everybody passed on draft night because he had a horrible suit on that looked like a pool table. My hat's off to Harbaugh. He's been doing it everywhere he went.
Jesus
Christ. You think he looked like a pool table. You can't say nothing. His mom's sitting next to him embarrassed. Like, why'd you pick this suit?
Oh, come on!
Okay, sounds good. Miss Donna, who you got?
Well, I hate saying this, but I think number 1 is Bill Belichick. Belichick. Hold on, but I still think that's yet to be determined. Was it Belichick or was it Brady? We're gonna have to wait and see. We're definitely gonna find out. I'll take Andy Reid second. I would take. Oh, it's a big toss-up for me for Tomlin and Harbaugh, but I'm gonna put Harbaugh in third. I'll put Tomlin in fourth. And I had to go with Pete Carroll.
You've got to be kidding.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Drake, trouble starter. Who you got over there, man?
First of all, put some respect on my name. My name is the Fire Starter of Source, baby. You want to start double alphabet. He started.
Don't fake burning ass out and talk about the goddamn coaches and shit. We got all this going on.
Listen, Dookie Howser over here. Listen, don't get me started. I'm telling you, I sent one quick picture over to the producer.
All right. This boy got problems at home. Excuse him, chat.
You know what? I forgot Sean Payton too. Jeez Louise. I think you're trying to pop it off the top of my head. Yeah, sorry about that.
But
it's all good.
Belichick in. You gotta go to timeout.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna take Bill Belichick. I'm gonna take Andy Reid. You know what? Shout out to my man, the ignorant thinker. I'm gonna actually go with Doug Peterson too. I'll go with Doug Peterson.
You disgust me. In the top 5, you're kidding me, right?
I'll go.
That man said Doug Peterson.
Do not. Listen.
Come on. Oh, y'all want to give me further questions, bro? That's real interesting. That's really, really interesting. Because you guys give John Harbaugh credit, right? But the last 2 seasons, I could have swore Philly went further in the playoffs than them. Last year, I'm sorry, they won the division in 1 year. They won a playoff game the year before. Pete Carroll, not Pete Carroll, but Doug Peterson has also won the Super Bowl in the last couple of years. Against the Patriots. And last year, Marcus, I know you're not laughing because last I checked, they won the division with Walmart receivers and beat your team when it mattered the most. So I know you don't want to go there, Marcus Betts. Last I checked, you got whooped. As a matter of fact, you gave over the division like homeboys give over money to strippers. So we ain't gonna do it.
That is laughable. Like Dak's asking for $45 million.
Exactly. Well, we ain't gonna go there. I'm gonna take Belichick, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson, Sean Payton, and I'm gonna go with Mike Tomlin. Honestly, I'm gonna go with Mike Tomlin, and that's respect to Ramona Die, because
don't what? Don't put Tomlin because of me.
No, and that's respect to you and your team. For real, he deserves it. For real, what he did last year with Duck. Don't make me laugh. With Duck and Mason, I didn't really have receivers all like that. Y'all was injured at the running back position. Juju is obviously not a real number one.
Well, Juju was injured. You do realize for like 3 or 4 games he was injured with a really bad knee injury.
Yes, absolutely. And Juju was injured too. So I give him his props. Mike Tomlin gets a lot of respect.
Well, when we played the Cleveland Browns, they were kind of headhunting. They knocked three of our players out of that game. Well, 4 if you want to count Mason Rudolph at the end of the game.
Yeah. But I give Mike Tomlin his respect. Those are my 5.
Okay, I'm gonna read the comments before I give you my 5. TC says, I don't see Tomlin top 5. Chuck Thomas says Andre going with McCarthy. Larissa Mead says I see Matt Patricia number 1 this year, winning the Super Bowl and winning the NFC North. Larissa Mead. Larissa Mead. Obviously,
Larissa is not who we think she is, because she is not a she. She's the Lions fan that got kicked out of the group a long time ago. And y'all all know, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. TC says Bill, Reed, Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Harbaugh, and Shanahan. Yuri Barrow said, sorry, Payton, not Harbaugh. Let's see here. Chuck Thomas said Harbaugh was almost let go. Chuck Thomas says Carroll, worst call in Super Bowl history.
Yeah,
I would have to say that.
You got Marshawn Lynch, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Yuri Barrow says Belichick, Carroll, Reed, Payton, and Shanahan. Let's see here. And then Ethan says, Ethan's asking you, Monster. He says, Bill Belichick not in top 5, Monster?
No.
Bill Belichick? No?
I don't have to explain it. See the flag behind
me? Okay.
No. You cheat your way and all that shit, you're not getting in my top 5. Belichick can rock. him and Big
Let's see here.
Tuna. Yeah, you don't think we know in Super Bowl 20 you milked the clock faking injuries in the last 2 minutes? We know you did that stuff. That's why they made the rule to prevent it nowadays. So, Tuna and Belichick, anybody who's down the Patriots color, you're not making any of my list. If you don't agree with me, sorry, but I don't really care.
Okay. Let's see here. Chuck Thomas said, Dre and I almost had the same. He got Doug Peterson, and I took Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians, I think he's. Let's see here. TC says, I guess Tomlin can't hold a locker room.
Well, wait. I want to reply to that before you go any further. Tomlin can't hold a locker room, but you had the same problem with an AB on your team last season who couldn't even make it past the first game and then is kicked out of the NFL, or at least kicked out y'all's team. So don't even go there with me, TC.
Watch out now.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Yuri Barrows says Matt Patricia has to go back to offensive coordinator. And Devon says Harbaugh, Tomlin, Frank Reich, Peterson, and Belichick. Okay. All right. So everybody else, if you're still watching, please give us your top 5 head coaches right now, and we'll go from there. I'm gonna go last here. My top 5. I still have big Bill Belichick as number 1. Look, six Super Bowls. That's just what it is, and 9 Super Bowl appearances as head coach, plus another ring as a coordinator when he was a coordinator for the New York Giants. The man's coaching is impeccable, and I mean, you may not like him personally. Look, I have a show called. I've had a show called No Feelings, okay, and on that show is a lot of times people get caught up in their emotions, or I just don't like that guy, and that's fair. You know, you can't tell somebody who to like, just like you can't really tell somebody who to marry. But the bottom line is the results. The man has 6 rings. He has more rings than some franchises who've been in the league forever. Detroit Lions.
My question is, who are the bottom 5 coaches currently in the NFL?
Ooh, well, you know what? Let me finish. We got about 25 minutes. We have about 25 minutes left, so we can do that. We got a little bit of time, but let me finish my list. So we got Bill Belichick, number 1. Yeah, look, the truth hurts. I know it hurts. I know I got a lot of Buffalo Bills fans in here. I love you guys. I know there's a lot of Bills fans in the rise up. Much respect to you. I love you, brother, monster. But Bill Belichick is the best coach in the NFL. Point blank. That's just what it is. Number 2, Mike Tomlin. The job he did last year to go 8-8 with the devastating injuries that they had, to go 8-8 with those injuries, you're basically down to your 4th-string quarterback. Let's not forget, Joshua Dobbs was originally the backup quarterback. So they went Ben Roethlisberger, Joshua Dobbs, Mason Rudolph, and Duck Hodges. To go 8-8 with Duck Hodges as your starting quarterback, and you're in the same division with the Ravens, and to still come out of that with 8-8, I thought that was, even though that they were just 500 last year, I thought that was the best. I thought that was one of the best coaching jobs that he had, considering he went from a Antonio Brown and a Le'Veon Bell and James Harrison and guys like that to go to a bunch of kids. And I think this year you will see if Ben Roethlisberger is 70% of what he's been throughout most of his career, I think that you see the Steelers. I don't know if they win the AFC North, but I think that they will give the Ravens hell next year, because it's a division rivalry and they're going to battle. One thing you cannot say about the Steelers under Mike Tomlin is they come out there and they fight. He doesn't make excuses when they win. When they lose, he doesn't make any excuses. So that's Mike Tomlin's one of my favorite coaches in the NFL. Number 3, Andy Reid. the only thing that was holding him back from previous years, and I hated Andy Reid when he was the coach for the Eagles. We had to see him twice a year, every year when he was the coach of the Eagles. Those Donovan McNabb years. Shout out to my man, the ignorant thinker, Dennis Holmes. I hate you, but that's just what it is. I tell you, I don't get caught up in my feelings. Andy Reid is one of the best coaches of this generation, and that's just what it is. And with giving him a weapon like Patrick Mahomes, a guy who he can groom, there's no telling how many championships this guy will win before his career is over. If Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid stay together for a majority of both of their careers, I think they are capable of multiple Super Bowls, and that's just what it is. That's what it is. Number 4, sorry, Sean Payton. I think he's another hell of a coach. Who while we're talking about the question mark and the questionable career of Bill Belichick, let us not forget that Sean Payton was suspended for a year. Does everybody remember that for Bounty Gate? We don't remember. We don't remember Sean Payton being suspended for a whole year. We want to talk
That's
about
not
Bill.
the same thing. They've been putting bounties on guys since the 70s.
Telling your players that you will give them extra money and bonuses to take out players on other teams. That's not the same thing.
It's not the same as stealing playbooks.
Okay, and people have been spying. And let me tell you something. And people have been spying on other teams since the 70s, and probably before that. It's just like everybody speeds. Everybody speeds. But guess what? The person who gets pulled over, that's the one who gets the ticket. If you have a highway full of people doing 80 miles an hour in a 60, everybody's speeding, but 2 or 3 people are going to get pulled over. That's what it is. So, I mean, look, people have been cheating, trying to cut corners at every turn. That's just what it is. And last but not least, in my top 5, John Harbaugh. For him to take Lamar Jackson, who everybody was saying, shout out to my man Dre, who elaborated on this earlier about them. They basically built an offense around him. You have a lot of these coaches that ruin players because they're like, this is what we do, and you're going to learn what we do. No, John Harbaugh was flexible enough and smart enough to know, look, I have a transcendent talent, and we are going to build our offense around him to his strengths and capabilities, much like his brother Jim did when he was the head coach with the 49ers. Colin Kaepernick was not a great passer. He wasn't. But what he did was he went to his college coach at the University of Nevada and instituted the pistol offense with the San Francisco 49ers, and the rest was history. 2 Super Bowl appearances, Colin Kaepernick running all over the place doing his thing. So a lot of these coaches can take a lesson from these coaches that are flexible enough and cater to their quarterback's strengths. So I have John Harbaugh at number 5.
Hey, can we
so
stop
that's my
top?
top.
That Kaepernick's not in the league because of other things. Kaepernick's not in the league because he can't read a defense, and they figured it out within 3 years. That's why he's not in the league. Same thing that I hope doesn't happen to Lamar Jackson. You take the legs away, and can you get it done with your arm? Can you get it done with your arm?
That's not.
Well, I think that the future NFL quarterback. Look, I don't believe, and I truly do believe this. Football has evolved. I think the day of just a pure pocket passer is over. That's my opinion. If you're just a statue and you're just standing, the day of just the Dan Marino just standing in a pocket delivering the ball, I think that those days are over. Defenses are too.
Tom Brady is.
Well, and by the time it's fully instituted, Tom Brady will be out the league. He'll be out the league. But the bottom line is the future wave of quarterbacks, in my opinion, even though he's older, the Aaron Rodgers, the Patrick Mahomeses, and the Joe Burrows of the world, and the Trevor Lawrences of the world. These are the guys. You saw Joe Burrow go #1 this year. Next year, you're going to see, in the words of my good brother, the Bond of Professional Stanfield, Trevor will be the #1 pick next year, barring some type of devastating injury. Knock on wood. I'm not wishing any. Bad voodoo on them or anything. But the days of the quarterback that just stand in the pocket, the Dan Marino, those days are over. You got to be able. I'm not saying you got to be Lamar Jackson where you run around, or Michael Vick, you just outrun everybody, just run around. But you got to have a little bit of mobility. Even a guy like Big Ben Roethlisberger, he has a little bit of mobility and just shrugging people off his strength, shaking people off, moving around a little bit in the pocket. That's the future quarterback. And back to Tom Brady. One last thing before I pass it to you guys. Even Tom Brady, he's not Lamar Jackson. We all know that. But his short area quickness, his mobility within the pocket, not running around, but just making a little step here, just to get stepping forward in the pocket a little bit, and his awareness. That's what has kept him. You don't play 20 years. You don't play 20 years and not have a little bit of mobility and that clock in your head where you know when to get rid of the ball. Thoughts, guys?
Can I need to interject on something real quick.
Go ahead, Dre.
Monster may not like what I'm about to say, but
come on with it, sucker.
As long as you know what, read that sign behind you. It says 1 heartbeat louder, sir. All right, remember that. Now,
remember, your ass is in my city.
You in your city. Anyway, I'm not going to take on that. You know what? You fly devil. You are a little older than me. You're right. Here's what I'm gonna say. As long as Nathan Peterman,
15 jail. Weren't we supposed to let somebody know something?
Yeah, Nathan Peterman. Yeah, I did. Yep, got you, Ramona. Thank you. Nathan Peterman, EJ Manuel. As long as they in the league in a backup position, there's no way you telling me Colin Kaepernick don't deserve a backup role on the team. I'm sorry.
Listen. I'm not talking athleticism. Kaepernick's got that in spades. He can't read a defense. What are you going to do with that? You've seen it. I've watched the All-22s. He can't read a defense. That's his problem.
You know who else can't read defense? And he plays for the Rams.
I know. I've watched Sean McVay read defenses for him pre-snap. That's why I said Jared Goff is garbage. Like, McVay reads the defense. That's why it takes him 30 seconds to snap the ball. McVay's got to tell him where to go with it.
Right. So I think there's room for Colin Kaepernick on the bench as a secondary quarterback.
Well, then you know what? Stop setting up press meetings for publicity and tryouts for publicity and actually show up and put the work in. Because the last one he did,
I'm not arguing with none of that. Yeah, I'm not arguing with none of that. Y'all can go ahead with the next time. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, well, we got 7 minutes left. And Ramona had kind of brought this up. I need quickly, guys, quickly. You got about 30 seconds apiece, okay? Ramona said, somebody had said in the comments, five worst head coaches in the NFL. Ready, set, go. Ramona, you want to go first? No. Monster, you want to go first?
Shoot, I'll go. I'll go.
Okay, go ahead.
Ramon,
go ahead
then. Doug stealing contracts. Marone, number 1. Adam Gase, number 2. Freddie Kitchens, number 3. Zach Taylor, number 4. Number 5, and finally, I'm getting to this, brother. Number 5 is your man from the Detroit Lions. I don't care if you don't like me saying it. Oh well, Mike Vrabel. Oh no, actually, that's the wrong one. Vrabel is
Patricia.
That was Matt Patricia.
You can be talking about Matt Patricia. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna give you my 5 right here. And you touched on a couple of them, Dre. I'm going Doug Marrone, number 1, Adam Gates, number 2, Zach Taylor, number 3, Bill O'Brien. And you know what? As a matter of fact, move Bill O'Brien up to number 1. Move him up to number 2. Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien. I don't give a damn that he went to the playoffs. He's a. I said what I said. I ain't apologizing. Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien and Matt Patricia. And I'm moving Bill O'Brien. And I know that was more of a general manager move. Bill O'Brien, the moment that he traded Jadeveon Clowney and DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of Skittles and Magic Beans, he should have been fired on the spot. And Adam Gase, how does this guy keep getting jobs? How does he? He's like the Lane Kiffin, of the NFL. How does this guy keep getting jobs? So I said what I said. I don't take it back. I meant what I said, and that's just what it is.
Can I play off that real quick?
You got 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Marcus Betts, you just woke up something that's going to happen on Monday Night Madness, sir. You guys in this Bill O'Brien hate, I am going to touch on that on Monday, by the way. So thank you for that segue.
Bill O'Brien's ass.
Get ready.
All right, I got my team. I got my coaches. I'm gonna read them off real quick. Zach Taylor, O'Brien, because I'm like him. I think that was Fangio, or however how you pronounce his name. Marone and Gates.
Okay.
All right, I got my.
All right, cool.
I got.
Okay, with that being said,
all right,
go ahead,
Marone. Buffalo, he's garbage. I hate Doug Marone. Bill O'Brien. O'Brien's stupid. Like, you don't make good moves. Like, your team is ass because you're stupid. Adam Gase, same thing. As soon as they came out with the video of his eyes going all crazy and shit at the press conference, like, no, I don't want that guy running my football team. Matt Patricia, because he's another one in the long line of Belichick disciples that fell on their face and couldn't do shit once they left his thing in New England. And I got to go with Kingsbury. He looks lost out there every time I see the guy on the sidelines. So that's mine.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Guys, once again, I want to thank
Devon and I have the same.
What's that?
Devon and I almost had the same exact folks until he just put Pat Shurmur on there, which Shurmur is definitely runner up.
Okay. Sounds good. Once again, I want to say thank you to my guests, to my co-host, Miss Diehard, Monster. Man, it's been a treat, bro. We're gonna have to get together again, bro. Dre, as usual, brother. It's always good working with you. I want to thank everybody out there in the Rise Up family: Ronald Enix, Chuck Thomas, TC Casey, Larissa Mead. I'm trying to go back on the comments here. Everybody from the Rise Up family, thank you for the OnPoint Network for being so supportive of us. The Rise Up family, thank you. Make sure tomorrow y'all tune in to the Rise Up Unlimited show with myself, Miss Di, and Andre the Torch Robertson. Will be doing the show tomorrow. The Family Show on Sunday. Trivia on Monday. Talk Your Ish Tuesday with Dennis Holmes and Ron Thomas on Tuesday. The vote with George Chadwick on Wednesday. Thank you for everything. We appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good night. Be safe out there and take care. And we'll see y'all next week.
Unity, guys. Just always remember, let's positive rise out.